Hello everyone, I'll get started in just a moment. Hello everyone, welcome to Options with Doug, streaming live on Monday and Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Bookmap Discord and the Bookmap YouTube channel. Before I get started, I need to go through the disclosures. General disclosure. All Bookmap Limited materials, information, and presentations are for educational purposes only and should not be considered specific investment advice nor recommendations. Risk disclosure. Trading futures, equities, and options involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Here's my contact information. The best way to get in touch with me is through Discord. My name on Discord is Doug P. Also in Bookmap Discord, there's an Options-Doug chat channel. You can post questions and comments related to the topics of my presentation or the topics of the channel that I'll go through in just a moment. I'm also on X. My name there is @Pless. Here are the key tenets to my approach for trading. Hopefully by now everyone is familiar with this. I believe that options trades and market maker hedging activity are key drivers of price in many stocks and futures, like the Mag 7 stocks and the S&P 500 and NASDAQ 100 equity index futures. The focus of my presentation today and the focus of the Options-Doug chat channel is options order flow, the impact of options markets on stocks and futures, and the influence of market maker hedging flow on price action. I have a two-step process for trading, and I will go through both of these steps in my process today, planning and execution. Questions and comments are welcome, and I will be watching both the Options-Doug chat channel as well as the chat and YouTube for your questions or comments. Please feel free to post. I'll do my best to answer your questions. Hello, Stephen. Welcome. Glad you're here. Here's my agenda for today. Monday, March 10th. First of all, I want to go over news items, economic data, events, and earnings for the rest of the week. And then I'll go through my positional analysis for today. Then I'll review some setups from earlier today. Then I'll get to live market. When I get to live market, if anyone has any stocks they want me to take a look at, please let me know and I'll be glad to do that. All right, let's get started. And I'm going to start with news items, economic data, and events for this week. Go through this quickly. There are a few key events. This is the events calendar in the Spotgamma dashboard home screen. Starting tomorrow, JOLTS data, jobs openings out at 10 a.m. And then the big data release of the week is the CPI data out at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Again, that's CPI, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday. And then the PPI data comes out at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time on Thursday. And then finally, Michigan Consumer Sentiment is at 10 a.m. on Friday. And those last three data releases could be certainly, probably, most likely will be market movers. Take a quick look at the earnings calendar. Let's go to the earnings chart here. Earnings reports starting to wind down. Oracle does report earnings after the close today. All right, so that's news items for the week. Now let's move on to positional analysis. I'm going to start with the S&P 500. This is the ES Futures and Bookmap. And before I take a closer look at this chart, I do want to take a look at a higher time frame. I'm going to go to the SPX, the underlying index for the S&P 500. This is a one-day, one-year chart. And note that the S&P 500 has broken down out of this linear regression channel shown here, out of the consolidation after the earnings, after the election, and then also broken down below the election gap. That's right here. And also trading below the lower daily and weekly expected move. So the SPX was trading down below the lower weekly expected move after about an hour this morning. All right, so let's take a closer look at those levels now. Let's go to a 30-day 1-hour chart. So here's SPX. Again, SPX trading down below the election gap at the beginning of November, trading down below the lower daily and weekly expected moves. So let's take a look at those expected moves. So first of all, the dashed purple lines are showing the lower and upper weekly expected move. That's based on the options market, based on the closing price for SPX from Friday. And then kind of unusual for the SPX trading below that level in the first hour on Monday. All right, so this is the lower and upper daily expected move, also based on the options market, based on the closing price from last Friday again. So SPX trading down below those levels. All right, the dark red lines on this chart are showing Spotgamma levels. These are based on gamma-weighted open interest, and they are provided to Spotgamma subscribers on a variety of trading platforms. Again, this is Thinkorswim in a 30-day 1-hour chart. And hello, Saeed. I really I appreciate you being here. Glad to see you. I cannot begin to pronounce your name. Sorry. So again, welcome and hello. All right, so the Spotgamma levels, I'm going to focus on the key daily levels. First of all, the levels last week were heavily influenced by this 0 DT iron condor that was put on, I believe, almost every day last week. And it increased in size every day. And then their iron condor is gone today. But the iron condor on Friday did influence the key daily levels. That's gone. So now the key daily levels have kind of reverted back to their natural levels now. And I'm going to point out the key daily levels. First of all, the volatility trigger. And note, SPX is trading well below all of the levels, including the put wall at 5,700. So let's start with that level. Here's the put wall at 5,700. That's a strike with the largest net negative gamma that can be expected to act as support. SPX trading well below that level. And the next level up is the volatility trigger at 5940. Then a Spotgamma's proprietary gamma and volatility flip level. Below that level, market makers' position on the gamma curve is negative. In a negative gamma environment, market makers have to trade with price to hedge their delta exposure. That tends to enhance or increase volatility. And that is certainly the case today, with SPX trading well below the volatility trigger in a very negative gamma environment. More about gamma in just a few minutes. Next level up is the 6,000 absolute gamma strike. That's a strike with the largest absolute positive and negative gamma. And hello, Slow to Razi. Yes, I will definitely take a look at Tesla. I'll get there in just a minute when I get to stocks. Very nice short today in Tesla. And then finally, the call wall back up at 6,200. That's a strike with the largest net positive gamma that can be expected to act as resistance. Certainly not in play for today. And there was a bullish hat trick in SPX today with the volatility trigger put wall and call wall all moving higher. All right, so that is SPX. And for SPY, the call wall also shifted higher. Let's wrap up our view of SPX with a now 1 minute chart. So levels in play. Here's the put wall. And the lower daily expected move right on top of that level. There's also a combo level. And that level acting as resistance this morning, setting up a very nice short. down to and now below the lower weekly expected move. Also this combo 2 level. And note 5650 was noted as support in the Spotgamma AM Founders note. So the next level down below is 5600. That was also noted as support in the Spotgamma AM Founders note. Let's see if that's on this chart. Yeah, there's 5600, 5603, just above 5600, and that is a combo 3 level. All right, so gap down this morning. Put wall 5700 resistance, and now again SPX trading but down below the lower daily and weekly expected moves, and continuing to move lower. We can zoom in on this just a little bit. And there's the election gap acting as resistance on Friday. So that was the high of the day on day before the election. All right, back to Bookmap now. So Bookmap, I know there are a lot of levels on this chart, a big cluster of levels here. And note the key level there, the 5700 put wall, and there's a combo level just above that, acting as resistance just after the cash open, 945, when everything pulled back, pulled higher, and reversed lower. Down to this cluster of levels. And in that cluster of levels is the Spotgamma. Spotgamma implied one-day move low. Among other levels, the 5650. And then price broke below that level after lunch, after 12 p.m., 12:30 p.m., and now continues lower down toward the 5600 level, which would be the next stop. All right, so that's the S&P 500. Very nice short setup this morning. Very steady downtrend. We'll talk more about that in just a minute. Multiple entries, pullback entries. All right, so that's the S&P 500. Again, shifts and levels. Bullish hat trick for SPX due to the removal of the iron condor that had an influence on the levels last Friday. All right, let's take a look at NASDAQ now. Very bearish day in NASDAQ. Let's take a quick look at the underlying index charts. Start with QQQ. QQQ also trading below its put wall at 480. And a steady downtrend that began well before the cash opened. Let's take a look at NDX. So NDX trading down below this. Let's check on this. 19,515 combo 3 level. This is what I'm looking at right here. Just below that, the only level remaining below for NDX is the 19,000 absolute gamma strike put wall. Let's check QQQ. And below the put wall, there are two combo levels at 469 and 464. And one thing that's kind of interesting here is the symmetry. 19,515, 717, and 919. Kind of an interesting pattern in the numbers there. All right, back to Bookmap, back to NQ. And NQ continues to move lower, slicing through levels. We'll zoom into the regular trading hours. So NQ trading well below its lower daily expected move and lower weekly expected move. All right, so that's NASDAQ and shifts and levels. For NDX, the volatility trigger shifted lower, and for QQQ, the call wall shifted lower. All right, so that's NASDAQ. Again, more about setups in just a few minutes. Oh boy asked, hello, welcome, glad you're here, oh boy. Asked, what are the combo levels? For the S&P 500, combo levels are combinations of SPX and SPY levels into one level. So if we're looking at SPX, let's go back to the SPX chart. Those combo levels are converted to an equivalent SPX price. So that is for the S&P 500. Combo levels can appear on both SPY and SPX charts, and the same for NASDAQ. For the NASDAQ, combo levels would be NDX and QQQ levels combined into one and converted to an equivalent price, either NDX or QQQ. And Spotgamma does provide those levels. All right, let's wrap up our positional analysis so we can get to setups in the live market. Let's take a quick look at Gamma, very important today. Let's go back to the S&P 500 first. And by the way, there is a difference in price between ES and SPX. And today it is right around 8, maybe 7, closer to 7 now. And that tends towards 0 as expiration rollover approaches, which will be the week after next. So expiration a week from this Friday, and then the rollover date will be a week from today. And that ES to SPX difference, when we're looking at the June contract, will expand pretty substantially. So right now it is around 7 to 8. And for NASDAQ, the NDX, NQ to NDX offset is about 30 points. All right, so that's, let's take a look at Gamma, then we'll get to the setups and live market. Let's start with market maker's position on the Gamma curve at the beginning of the day. Gamma notional for the S&P 500, NASDAQ, and Russell 2000. Note all these numbers are negative. Again, a negative Gamma environment. This indicates traders are long puts, market makers are short puts. Hence the negative Gamma. They have to trade with price to hedge their delta exposure. And with the exception of IWM, all these numbers did become slightly less negative than Friday, but certainly tomorrow they will be much more negative in an extreme negative Gamma environment. All right, let's take a look at real-time Gamma. This is the trace tool showing the Gamma heat map. This is available to Spotgamma subscribers. Red shading indicates negative Gamma, and the blue shading indicates positive Gamma. Let's step back in time. Also note the stability index has been decreasing today. It was higher earlier today. I think it was around 30% or so. So let's go back toward the beginning of the day, and we'll step through time. Let's go back to 940. So no, now this is showing 4%. So maybe what I saw this morning was a little bit off. So this morning, this is showing still negative Gamma, slightly negative, the light red shading. Let's step through time. And that purple line next to the candlesticks, the price candlesticks, is the hero signal. So you can see there has been some positive Gamma developing down below that did provide some support. Remember that consolidation zone, the move lower in the morning consolidation with a little bit of positive Gamma support down below, right around the Spotgamma implied one-day move low. also right around the 56.50 level. And now afternoon, SPX breaking lower, and that blue positive gamma down below somewhat fading away. All right, so that's the current picture of gamma, very negative. And let's take a final look at this with let's go to the indexes, the VANA model. And very quickly, what this chart is showing is market maker's delta notional. On the vertical axis and the price for SPX on the horizontal axis. And what we want to look at is this purple curve, which is showing how market maker's delta notional changes with changes in price and applied volatility. So as price has been dropping, implied volatility increasing, market maker's delta notional has been increasing, and they want to remain delta neutral, so they have to sell futures to hedge their delta exposure. Let's take a look at current prices. So we know the high of the day was right around 5,700. That's right around here. So from there, as prices dropped, prices continue to fall, implied volatility increases, market makers' delta notional increases, and they have to sell futures to hedge their delta exposure. This works both ways. If price does reverse higher, then market makers can buy back their short futures, and they hedge their and unwind those hedges. So again, in a negative gamma environment, this curve is very typical of negative gamma. You can see market makers are trading with the direction of price as price moves up and down. All right, so based on this, I was looking for high volatility for today, and then based on the overnight move, a bearish thesis, and that is certainly playing out today. All right, let's take a look at some setups. I'm going to start with the S&P 500 and take a look at what options traders have been doing today. And you may notice a substantial change in the hero signal here, a very, very nice upgrade. And let's zoom in on this so we can see this. So now the hero signal has been changed from a line drawing to candlesticks. So you can see now, and I'm in total mode, you can see the candlesticks. And I think this adds substantial visibility to the hero signal, makes it much easier and quicker to interpret. So adds a lot of value to the hero signal. And let me show you my settings. So first of all, I have this. This is the duration of the hero candles. I have it set at 5 seconds. And here, after the cash open, I turn off extended trading hours. And the bottom chart display, that's showing the what looks like volume bars. I have the net hero value. So I think that this adds substantial value. This is the total signal. This is also the total chart for the index signal, the S&P 500 index signal. So what this chart is showing is SPX price with a white line, and the hero signal showing options trades and market maker hedging activity in the S&P 500 index components. That is the SPX, SPY, ES futures, and XSP. And there's also the put and call signal, also changed to candlesticks, still with the orange showing calls, blue showing puts. All right, so what we want to take a look at is this reversal at 9:45. Right here, a little bit of a call peak. So before that, traders were buying calls, selling puts. Price was moving higher, 5,700 level. I know that's the put wall, but that did act as resistance. And traders stopped buying calls, started selling calls, stopped selling puts, started buying puts. Now, blue line, orange line moving the same direction, and that sets up a very nice short at the 5,700 level. Let's go back to the total signal and take a look at the clues in the total signal. Again, now with the candlesticks, you can see this little ramp up here. Again at the 5,700 level. And then the hero starts to shift lower, and a little bit of a larger red candlestick there. Price moves lower. Then note this large candle right there, 951. And we'll see that on a number of charts, like the S&P 500 equities. And note also this shift to candlesticks. They seem to have solved the auto zoom problem. All right, so looking at the S&P 500 equities hero signal, this is the showing options trades and market maker hedging activity for all 500 stocks in the S&P 500 index. And this was setting up a very nice bearish divergence, with the hero signal moving lower from the open, price move higher up to the 5,700 level, and price reverse lower. Very nice setup. Looking at both the index signal typically does a little bit better job of showing the turning points. This is typical, and the equity signal showing the overall trend, but both confirming this short setup right around 945. And again, there's this is a large block trade. Large block trade right there at 951, just right before 952. And Suresh, hello, welcome, glad you're here. How do you change the hero settings to get candlesticks? I don't know. I started to see this on Friday. So you might just want to maybe clear the cache in your browser, do a hard refresh, and that hopefully you'll get up to date. But I am in the staging environment. I thought I was in the. I'm sorry about this. I thought I was in the production environment. So anyway, I'm in the staging environment. I didn't realize that. So maybe I'm a little bit premature with this, but this is something to look forward to. Sorry about that. I just didn't realize. All right, so again, something to look forward to in an update to Hero here. All right, so let's take a look at Bookmap now. Now let's go to puts and calls for the equity signal. You can see traders are selling calls from the open. Large block trade again, right around 951, I think it was 951.50. Large block trade, selling calls, also buying puts, and price moves lower. All right, so let's go to Bookmap now. Let's zoom in on this. Nice steady downtrend in the morning, multiple pullback entries. First pullback entry right around 569. Also this combo 2 level, 568.81. That's a SPY combo level. That level did act as that was an important level earlier today. it had already acted as resistance. That 569 and that combo level, SPY combo level, just below that, acting as resistance earlier in the day before the cash open. So there's that 945 reversal right here. Hero signal shifts lower. And again, multiple pullback entries along that trend line. Down to this cluster of levels and then even lower. Looking at the subchart, you can see the aggressive sellers coming in, and that is at every turning point. Aggressive buyers on the way up. Green volume dots. Then aggressive sellers come in, magenta volume dots. Magenta volume dots. Price moves lower. Cumulative volume delta shown by the magenta line drops lower. And also sell stop orders help to fuel that move lower. Looks like large traders were in buying weakness with iceberg orders, very typical behavior. Here's this wide consolidation from about 11 to 12:30. Then price drop lower again. All right, let's go back to Hero. Let's shift back to the total signal. That's the equity signal. Here's this consolidation. The equity signal shifts higher, then starts to move lower right around 1140. Price responds, moving lower. Take a look at the SP 500. Again, a little bit more choppy, but often marking the turning points a little bit more clearly. And now starting right around 1230, continues to make lower highs. All right, let's take a look at NASDAQ, then we'll get to some stocks. DK asks, what is HERO exactly? It is HIRO, Hedging Impact or Time Options. So what it is showing is options trades and market maker hedging activity in real time. And again, options trades, market maker hedging activity is a key driver price in the equity indexes, equity index futures like the SP 500 and NASDAQ, as well as many stocks that we'll take a look at in just a moment. So again, is HIRO, and you can go to spotgamma.com and get more information about HERO. All right, let's take a look at NASDAQ now. So NASDAQ, just like the SP 500, there are two signals that we can take a look at. And the first is the NASDAQ index signal that's showing options trades and market maker hedging activity for the NASDAQ. That's showing QQQ and NDX. Very bearish. There's that 945 reversal, maybe a couple of minutes after 945 for NASDAQ. Let's take a look at the other signal for the, and actually let's shift to puts and calls. So you can see in the morning traders were buying puts from the open. When traders buy puts, market makers sell the puts. In this case, they have to sell NQ futures to hedge their delta exposure. Let's take a look at the MAG 7 signal. So this is the equivalent to the equity signal or actually equity signal is like the Mag 7 plus 493. So this is showing options trades and market maker hedging activity for the stocks known as the Magnificent Seven. And Usama, sorry about the pronunciation. Hello, welcome, glad you're here. Says name this platform. This is Spotgamma Hero. So this is available to Spotgamma subscribers. And this is Bookmap right here. So this is what I use, Bookmap and Spotgamma. All right, so back to Hero. We'll get back to NASDAQ Bookmap in just a minute. So you can see from the, let me open, traders are selling calls. And just a few minutes after the open, they start buying puts. Price moves lower. A little bit of midday consolidation. Now they continue to buy puts and sell calls. Price moves lower. There's that large block order. Selling calls. All right, back to NASDAQ. $9.45 reversal. Aggressive sellers start to come in, and NASDAQ drops from right around 19,900, almost 500 points so far today, down to 19,400. Steady downtrend, midday chop for about an hour and a half, or actually more like a half an hour. Now the downtrend continues. All right, so that is those are the indexes. S&P 500 and NASDAQ both continue to move lower. Any questions about the indexes? All right, let's take a look at some stocks. And I've got a few Mag 7 stocks to look at. And one thing I was doing this morning is tracking down where those block orders came from. Let's start with Google. Very nice reversal pattern here. Actually, let me zoom in just a little bit more. There's the block order. Whoops. There's the block order. So kind of a rounded reversal pattern here. Starting about 9:35, traders were selling puts. Whoops, not sure what's causing that. Traders were selling puts, buying calls. And they stopped that. They stopped buying puts, started selling puts. Started buying puts, selling calls, price moved lower. Nice reversal patterns, kind of a slow motion reversal pattern. And Google, let's go to Bookmap. There's that reversal. Right at 168. Price moved lower. So there was one of the block orders for selling calls. Let's take a look at Meta. Very bearish day here in Meta. In Meta, 610 is the put wall. So like the indexes, Meta also reversed lower at its put wall. Let's take a look at Hero. And note this set up a very, let's see if we can zoom in on this without the zoom. Very, very nice divergence pattern. You can see the hero signal, and I don't know, hero signal moving lower from the open. Mainly traders selling calls. Price moves up to the 610 level, reverses lower, setting up a very, very nice divergent short. A little bit of consolidation at the 600 key gamma strike. Then price continued to move lower. Let's change to the total signal. Again, a very nice divergent short and a reversal at a key level. Very, very clean setup here. Divergent short, hero moving lower, waiting for the reversal just after 945 at the 610 put wall. All right, so the next stock. Now, those two were not on my watch list, but they were very nice setups. Basically, you could have picked anything this morning and just gone short, bought puts, sold stock, sold futures, whatever you want to do. All right, so NVIDIA, another divergent short here. Here's the block order, selling calls, flow alert comes in. Right before that, get your attention, divergent short, and NVIDIA breaks below the 110 put wall. And continues to move lower until the put buyers, call sellers take the foot off the gas. I think it's mainly calls. Let's check. Oops. Yeah, mainly call sellers. And you can see again this large block order at the same time as everything else. Selling calls. So it looks like some large institution sold a basket of calls. And now NVIDIA consolidating as the call sellers and put buyers have taken the foot off the gas. Back to the total signal. All right, one more Mag 7 stock. Here you go, Sloterazi. Hello, Kite Attack. Welcome. Glad you're here. Wants to take a look at Oracle? Sure. Let me get through a couple more stocks, and then we'll get to Oracle. Let's zoom in on this. And another bearish, this is a bearish opening drive. And some of that block order was in Tesla as well. And actually, that was not. I'm looking too far back. There it is. There's that block order. So again, in a number of stocks, right before 952, but a bearish opening drive in Tesla. And Tesla also trading below its 250 put wall. That's the 250 put wall key gamma strike. And Tesla continues to move lower as traders take negative delta options positions. So we need to look at NVIDIA. A lot of aggressive buyers here in NVIDIA. You can see all the green volume dots, rising cumulative volume delta. Let's see, did we look at Meta? Yeah. So Meta, again, reversal at the, sorry about this jumping back and forth. Meta 610 put wall acting as resistance, 945 short setup, down to below 590. All right, now to NVIDIA. 945 reversal. Pull back entries. And there's the break below the 110 level. All right, now to Tesla. And Tesla continues to move lower. Looks like from the cash open, down over 25 points today. From above 250 down now to right around 225. 25-point move lower in Tesla. Let's see let's go back to Hero. And the Hero signal continues to move lower. All right, let's take a look at some more stocks. And these stocks were on my watch list. First of all, Robinhood. And actually, NVIDIA and Tesla were as well. And this is a watch list that I post in Discord. Robinhood. Zoom in on this a bit. Another divergent setup. Traders taking negative delta positions from the open. Price moves up to 41. Setting up a nice short at 41. Let's take a look at Bookmap. There's the 945 reversal. Hood at 41. Nice short. Looks like the aggressive buyers gave up just after 11:30. You can see the shift in green volume dots to magenta volume dots right around 39, just below VWAP. Robinhood continues to move lower. There's Robinhood and Palantir, also on my watch list. Bearish opening drive. And this reversal on the Hero signal. So this is the bearish opening drive. A little bit of reversal. And then setting up a very nice short at the 81 hedge wall. Pull back again to 81 hedge wall. Hero signal shifts lower again. And price moves lower. Let's go take a look at Bookmap. Go to Palantir. There's that reversal at the 81 level. Again, nice pullback for a short. This is the market pulse price change indicator in the subchart, and I use this to help time entries, pullback entries, in this case in a downtrend, looking for the extremes. So a lot of the stocks that were up pretty substantially earlier in the year, the unwind continues. Then finally, Rocket Lab, definitely one of those stocks. Let's see what options traders are doing, and Rocket Lab, we'll get to Oracle, then back to the live market. Rocket Lab. Another reversal at a hedge wall. Reversal at the 18 hedge wall. Very nice divergent short. Traders taking negative delta positions from the open. Looks like that large block trade was in Rocket Lab as well. Again, many stocks showing that same pattern. Block order 951.50. Let's hover over that. So you can see the time down below. So this was a little bit, maybe just a little bit earlier few seconds after 9:51. But again, a very, very nice divergent short right at 18 there. Go to Bookmap, and there's that divergent short at the hedge wall at 9:45. Targets at the 17 high liquidity. And this is the 1650 level. Those are limit buy orders. Those were limit buy orders in the order book. And they typically come in, looks like they were in before the cash open. More came in at the cash open. And they typically, for a stock, will stay in the order book until they're filled. All right, Kite Attack wanted to look at Oracle. I don't have that in a Bookmap, but we can take a look in Hero. See how options traders are positioning themselves before the earnings report this afternoon. And it looks like it's bearish. Mainly buying puts, but they also are selling calls. Go back to the total signal. Overall bearish for today and getting more bearish in the afternoon. Some block orders in there. Let's see what those are. Large block orders buying puts. So some large institution buying puts before the earnings report. And let's check. So what I'm now showing is all expirations and then the next expiration, which would be this Friday. So the next expiration lines are shown here and here. Kind of the light blue line is puts and the green line is calls. So you can see a portion of the trade today is in the next expiration, the Friday expiration, but the bulk of it is really in the longer term expiration. Let's turn that off. All right, let's go back to the indexes now. And I'm going to go back to the total signal. Let's go to the S&P 500. And let's take a look at Trace, see what's going on Trace. Actually, we'll zoom in to the current price action. Hero continues to move lower. And again, I'm looking at the index signal. Let's check Trace. So it looks like the 5,600 level is definitely the next target. Let's go to Bookmap. Oops. Go to Bookmap, go to ES. Oops. All right, so the 5,600 level just down below. Certainly the clear price target for today. And ES SPX has already touched the 5603 level, that combo 3 level just above 5,600. Let's go back to Trace. Let's check charm pressure. So you can see there is a pocket of positive VANA down below the blue shading. Let's check charm pressure. So typically for an end-of-day pin, and this really is not going to be that applicable in such a negative gamma environment. You're looking for pins more in a positive gamma environment, but You can see in trace charm pressure, a little bit of pocket of positive support there, positive charm pressure support. Let's go back to gamma. Let's check NASDAQ. NASDAQ continues to grind lower, making a very nice series of lower highs. And Tape Project says Tesla 225 support for second recovery session like hot summer afternoon. Daylight saving will say bulls market close early due to hot summer. Right? Not sure what that means. All right, and does anyone have any stocks they want to want me to take a look at? Any questions, comments? NASDAQ continues to grind lower. 500-point move lower after the cash open. Back to S&P 500. Heading down toward 5,600. Sotorazi wants to take a look at Tesla again. All right, there you go. Tape Projects, Tesla 225. Let's check Hero. Back to Hero, Tesla. Looks like now Hero is flattening out. Let's check puts and calls. This is showing a block order, somebody buying calls down at this 225 level. Back to the S&P 500. Traders continue to buy puts and sell calls. Back to Bookmap. All right, ES breaking through the 5,600.03 combo 3 level. Large traders continue to fade this move, buying weakness with iceberg orders. That's shown by the rising light blue line. Large traders again buying with iceberg orders. That's cumulative since I opened Bookmap somewhere just before 7 a.m. 13,240 iceberg orders. Iceberg buy iceberg orders. $56.03 combo level continues to act as support. All right, last call for stocks, questions, comments. All right, some aggressive buyers coming in, defending at 5,600 level. One last check of NASDAQ. All right, back to ES. All right. Oh boy, ask SPX highest put open interest level now. So we can take a look at that. We can go to, let's go to net open interest. So the highest I see is right down here in this range at 55.65. That's a net put position. Minus 35K up here. Net put position 18.7K. All right, so there you go. Oh boy. I generally like to look at this GEX. So there's the two levels, the 55.65. And what this could be, this may be the JP Morgan collar strike. Let's go back to net open interest. And that does not show the expiration date. Let's go to Thinkorswim. Go to March. And Ahmad asked how high open interest is different than gamma exposure and its effects. So the gamma exposure is gamma weighted open interest, and it will have more of a short-term impact. Gamma is greatest at the money at expiration. So there's that 55.65. This is the March 31 expiration, and that is most likely the strike of the JP Morgan put spread. That's part of the end of month. All right, so Stephen asks, 55.65 is the JP Morgan collar trade, which means what exactly? Can we expect the market to find support there? Brent was talking about that earlier today, that the S&P 500 has never closed through that put spread. I don't know what the other strike is of the put spread. Let's check. Let's open up a few more strikes. So I don't see the other strike. So I'm guessing here. I don't know if that is the JP Morgan collar or not. So JP Morgan is long a put spread there. So market makers are short a put spread, wherever the spread is. I'll take a look at that on Wednesday. Talk more about that on Wednesday. All right, everyone. I need to wrap it up. I want to thank you very much for watching. Thanks for your questions and comments. One last check of S&P 500, still finding support at 5603. All right, everyone, again, thanks for watching. Thanks for your questions and comments. And remember, JOLTS data tomorrow, 10 a.m., CPI on Wednesday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and we'll talk about it on Wednesday afternoon. All right, everyone, thanks again, and I will see you on Wednesday. Bye.